debate, the honourable member for Lakeland.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to speak to Bill C-237, an act to amend the Elections Act. Today, 87 years ago, women were recognized as persons in Canada. The fight to get the right to vote was led by 5 trailblazing, pioneering Alberta women who changed history for all Canadians, paving the way for women's increased participation in public and political life. Tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary that voters in Lakeland elected me to represent them as their Member of Parliament, and I'm proud to serve them and to fight for our communities and our priorities. Liberals talk about progress for women, gender parity and equal opportunity, but it's often just a lot of talk, and they seem to really care mostly about appearances. They promote quotas for cabinet. The Prime Minister quips about it being 2015, but Conservatives really have the strongest track record of promoting and electing women to powerful positions of leadership, and that's something about which we're proud. Conservatives treat men and women equally because of our conviction that we are equal as individuals, as human beings, in dignity, in capacity, and in potential. Women can compete, we can deliver, and we can win. Quotas were not needed to elect the first female Prime Minister, a Conservative. Quotas were not needed for my former boss and longtime friend Deb Gray to become the first woman leader of the official opposition in Canadian history, and she didn't want or need quotas. It's very special for me to represent much of the riding where Deb was elected as the first Reform Member of Parliament. As Conservatives, we won't tell women what they should be, what they should aspire to, or what should animate their dreams. If women want to be mothers, we'll support them. If women want to be entrepreneurs, we'll support them. If women want to do both and anything else, we'll support them. We are the party of the first female engineer MP, the first female minister, the first female foreign affairs minister, and the first female prime minister. As Conservatives, we believe women's individual ambitions and efforts are what matter, not what society expects or progressive collective quotas demand. Conservatives support women in all walks of life, and that's why Conservatives, especially Conservative women, have always been trailblazers. In fact, it was under a Conservative Prime Minister that women finally got the right to vote. Today, we Conservatives are the only party with official status in the House of Commons to have a female leader, and she's the 4th female leader of our movement. That happened because Conservative MPs knew that the honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland was the best person for the job, not because of a quota or because there was an expectation. I've been involved in politics in many different ways for many years. My experience is that men, younger, the same age, and often much older, have always supported me wholeheartedly when I was the youngest volunteer or a staff member, and now. They've knocked on doors with me, promoted me, donated to our campaigns, and volunteered countless hours to help get me elected in the nomination and in the general election. My Conservative male colleagues, incumbents and rookies alike, always encourage and lift me and support me tirelessly. My volunteer board is half women and men and 20% youth. The full-time staff in both my offices are all women, but they're the best people for the jobs. When I walk into a room of Conservatives, I know they're assessing me on my merit, work, skills, expertise, knowledge, and character. They judge me on my ability and my competence. They don't fixate on just one of my traits, as if it defines my whole identity or who I am. That's what I prefer, because what Conservatives care about is how hard you're willing to work. Conservatives care about action. They prioritize what you do, not what you say or promise. I know I earned my position in this party and my role for Lakeland, and I will keep earning it. I believe it's my job to do my best at whatever I do, and that's what counts. This bill is undemocratic, and it's demeaning. It assumes Canadians are too sexist to choose the right people to represent them, and that parties should be punished for allowing local nomination processes to determine the best local person for the job. This belittles my work and my accomplishments as a candidate, as a Member of Parliament, and as a woman, just like all of my formidable Conservative women colleagues and all the strong women here. I don't want to be treated like a victim who requires a quota to succeed in life. Frankly, I think the notion that I need legislative coercion to succeed is utterly condescending. And I think this is the reason why. My grandmother was the first female mayor of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, elected in 1973. She was a councillor, a journalist, a wife, and a mother of 8. She was always described as expressive, passionate, quoted as voluble and aggressive, a firebrand, so my colleagues will forgive me for coming by it honestly. My Missy Ann never wanted special favors or treatment for being a woman. She told me the best way to succeed is to work harder and to be more prepared. As a new opposition MP from rural Alberta, like me now, the honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland once said that working women didn't need men in Ottawa telling them how to live their lives. And today, as then, I agree. This bill is typical of an ideology that government is always the fix. I'd love to see more women run for political office, but the idea that parties will be forced to choose women over men under financial punishment does a disservice to women everywhere. It says Canadian women can't achieve success on their own merit. I want to see people from all walks of life, all ethnicities, ages, or genders running for office. I want the best people, best possible representatives from every community to be elected. So we must forever be vigilant for freedoms and for our belief in the equal sanctity and dignity of every individual as human beings. The task is monumental. Before the Taliban took over Afghanistan, girls were allowed to go to school. After, they weren't. Before the Iranian Revolution, women were free to wear what they wanted. After, they were forced to cover their hair. It's possible for societies to go backwards on women's rights. So we, as citizens of free democracies, must embolden the inherent equality and liberty of all individuals everywhere. It underlines how privileged and fortunate we are here, that the NDP believes gender parity of Canadian political candidates is a top pressing issue today, when women in other countries face almost unimaginable oppression and harm. In Niger, 76% of women between the ages of 20 and 24 reported marrying before the age of 18, and 28% before the age of 15. In some African countries, women and girls are brutalized by ritual female genital mutilation. In Tanzania, 50% of women are pregnant before they turn 18. Many women in developing countries either die from childbirth or lose their babies. That's why the former Prime Minister and Conservative government focused Canada's foreign aid on maternal health in the developing world. Because while Liberals talk about their support for women, Conservatives act. I'm incredibly proud of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I first met her in university. I was inspired by her intelligence, her work ethic, and her integrity immediately, and I volunteered on her first nomination campaign. From the moment I met her, she's always worked harder than anyone else. She inspires those around her to do the same. That's how she leads us. She's a constant champion for the rights of all women and girls, against violence and persecution in Canada and around the world. She succeeded with Plan International to establish the International Day of the Girl. Just 2 weeks ago, she addressed a gathering of 11,000 Conservatives in the UK about the serious issues facing women and girls around the world. That's leadership. She lifts women up and recognizes their strengths and promotes their talents. At the time she was appointed in 2006, she was the youngest female cabinet minister ever, a record later broken by another Conservative, the member for Calgary-Nose Hill. She held 10 different senior portfolios under the previous government. She kept the confidence of a demanding leader, and she's earned her well-respected place here in this chamber and in Canada. She will leave our party in a stronger position and has built an admirable legacy. I consider her an outstanding role model for Canadians, especially women. She's exceptional. I'm a Conservative. I believe in democracy, in personal responsibility, in freedom, and in equality as the fundamental values of civilization. This bill will simply use taxpayer dollars to interfere in local democratic processes. So women, as Nellie McClung once said, and as my mentor, Deb Gray, reminded me often when I worked for her and continues to now, never retract, never explain, never apologize, just get the thing done and let them howl.